Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP on this Friday, July 1st, 2022. Happy Canada Day to everybody in Canada. And I'm looking forward to doing Season 4, Episode 3 of my podcast today with Matt Dery. This will be his second time on my podcast. He's a marketing, recruiting, business coordinator at Financial Architects Incorporated, and he's the host of the Locked On Lions podcast regarding the Detroit Lions. He's also the host of the Pistons Pod and Dery Bros Guardians Cast, and he's also a part-time radio personality on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, and he's also a color analyst with the Motor City Crews of the G League. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Matt today about all the changes with the Detroit Pistons going on and about his Cleveland Guardians, who are 39-34 and in second place in the AL Central, only a game behind the Minnesota Twins. So just bear with me, guys, and I'm going to bring on Matt, and we're going to talk some Detroit Pistons basketball this morning. Good morning, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Chris?
Good. Thank you so much.
Bud?
I'm good on this Canada Day.
Yes. Happy Canada Day. Love Canada. Love it.
Thank you. And I've been back to the States now 3 times since the end of April. So it's nice to be back in America, too.
Hey, man. We're in a weird spot here in this country right now, and I'll leave it at that. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been just going to the States to actually do some work for the Buffalo Bandits of the lacrosse league. I've picked up on lacrosse now. That's my number 5 sport now. It's a great sport. And the Buffalo Bisons, the top farm team of the Blue Jays last weekend, invited me to come down to Buffalo last weekend to do some media work. I wrote a blog and I did some live interviews with their personnel.
I've been to that stadium. We went a few years ago. I took my wife and kids to a game there, and it's fun, man. I love. It's weird. You kind of have the highway there out in the outfield.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Minor league baseball is the best. There's nothing better than, summer night and grabbing the family and going. And a lot of these teams do a really good job.
Yeah, so since I've been talking to you, I've been doing my own live interviews. I've been getting the CFL teams and that inviting me as a freelance media person. So I'm getting more experience in your industry as well.
Chris, you've locked in some pretty good interviews, my man. I've gotten to see some of your work. Keep it up, man. It's good to talk to you. I know this is long overdue, but pretty good timing with the Pistons certainly in free agency and the draft and everything else, and kind of getting ready for Lions season.
I was gonna say you must be optimistic about the Lions this year.
Well, I don't know if I must. It's I think that I am. You can't get much worse than it's been over the last handful of years. The end of the Quinn and Patricia era. I know you and I talked about it. But now, you win 3 games last year, but it's the most optimistic the fan base has been in a long time, especially after a 3-win team. But Dan Campbell has brought that juice, to use one of his phrases. Brad Holmes has done a nice job in both the draft, free agency. I'm not going crazy about, but I really liked his draft. And I like the fact that a lot of the players, even though Chris, many of them I don't think are that good, like Alex Anzalone, Jared Davis, guys I don't think are that great, but they all wanted to come back. And that's a testament to the staff and to the environment and the culture that you're putting in. And so far so good. We'll see how it goes.
I was going to say, and you got to be excited about your Cleveland Guardians. Okay, they're only 39-34, but you're 1 game out of first in the AL Central behind the Twins.
Dude, this series with the Twins the last week was absolutely insane. Took 3 out of 5. and in all 3 games, one in the last at bat, bottom of the 8th, Rosario 2-run single, the Naylor walk off 2 days ago, and then the Jimenez walk off yesterday. Just absolutely crazy. The Twins are definitely a better team than Cleveland, with Correa and some of the money they've spent. But boy, this young Guardians team is really fun to watch, and they're gritty as hell, man. It's great.
Speaking of the Twins, I saw their minor league team, the St. Paul Saints in Buffalo last week, and Ron Gardenhire's son, Toby Gardenhire, is their manager, which I thought was pretty cool.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. That is cool. I'll tell you, a lot of the Twins' best players and best prospects are all up right now with them. I know, Larnick and Gordon, some of their young guys, Miranda, some of their younger guys that were there in St. Paul are all up with the big club right now. That's still a good team. If you had to prognosticate the AL Central and say, all right, on July 1st, who's going to win the division? If I had to bet on it, I would still say Minnesota. But the Guardians are right there, man. The White Sox have been a huge disappointment. I don't know what's going on downtown here with the Tigers. I have no clue.
I was going to ask you that. I really thought they were going to at least be a 70-75 win team, but I think maybe 60-62, if that.
That's pathetic and unacceptable. Yeah. You're in year 7 of this rebuild. You went out and hired a big-time manager. How Al Avila still has his job is beyond me. And this isn't vicious. This isn't personal. Yeah. But when you've built something and it's been this long, and you get to this year, the culmination, and the owner says we're not rebuilding anymore, and the franchise player Cabrera says see you in the playoffs in April, and to be this bad it's. I feel sorry for Tiger fans. Tiger fans are really good fans, and I think they've had about enough of this. And I know they've had a lot of injuries, Chris, but my gosh, I mean, to be this bad and to be this out of it this early, and then have to rise back up and try to make a run. I don't see it.
Especially when this division is up for grabs this year, like Minnesota and Cleveland. Chicago, you're right, has been a huge disappointment. So I think the Tigers are one of the biggest disappointments in Major League Baseball this year, in my opinion.
No, you're right, Chris. I think they are. You had some national folks, John Morosi and others, really saying, predicting back in April that this could be a wild card team. Many had them second or third in the division. A lot of people said Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland, and yet Cleveland, like you said, is only a game out of first, and they have the youngest team in the game. And the Tigers, they went out and spent a lot of money, but if you really look at it, the guys that Al Avila acquired, the big ones, Barnhart, Rodriguez, who no one knows where he is, Javi Baez, they've all
Metals, and he's been hurt now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that Meadows trade is a disaster. Isaac Paredes has 11 home runs and has an OPS of over 900. Like, oh my gosh. It's nuts. It's crazy. You see these guys, Chris, on other teams. They leave Detroit. And this is such a Cleveland thing. This is what I grew up on. We would have these players on the Indians. We would trade them and they would go somewhere and flourish. And we would go, why didn't they do that with us? The Tigers right now, John Schreiber is one of the best setup men in the game. Look at his ERA with the Red Sox. I don't know what their pitching people did with him, but he's unhittable. And then Paredes leaves Detroit. He didn't do much here. And he goes to Tampa, and his swing is unbelievable. He's getting the cover off the ball. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I was going to say right now, to be a Detroit sports fan, I would say that the Pistons, the Red Wings, and the Lions to some degree are on the upway. I think the Tigers right now are a complete mess, and it's going to be a while yet. But I was going to say the Lions, I think there's hope for optimistic. And the Pistons, man, a lot of changes. This is what I wanted to bring you on about today, is all the changes with the Pistons. And what's your take on all these changes and your thoughts on the 2021-22 team overall?
Well, I mean, if you go back and really look at it, they're on course. When Troy Weaver took over a couple of years ago, he said it's going to be a restoration process. We want to restore the organization back to its championship days, whether it's bad boys or the going to work team. And he's tinkered a lot with the roster. He's been given a lot of autonomy by ownership, which I think is a good thing. I know there are a lot of people in the front office, and there was some pictures posted recently of their draft room. where you had Troy, you had George David, the assistant GM, Rob Murphy, the assistant GM, Arn Tellem, who's kind of the vice chairman of the organization, Josh Bartlestein, all these people in a room together, Dwayne Casey, the coach. And sometimes you see those pictures and you say, oh my gosh, a lot of chefs in the kitchen. But when it's Troy, to me, if you're letting Troy Weaver do his job and allow him to be the GM, make the moves, make trades, draft players, I just think he's really good. I do. And so you go back to last year, Cade Cunningham, Chris, missing training camp and most, if not all, of the preseason was a huge factor in why they didn't win as many games as I think they would have liked. He just wasn't ready. The ankle was bad. He needed rest. He needed rehab on the ankle. And once he got back and played, he needed some time. His legs weren't underneath him at the start of the regular season. That was almost like his training camp in preseason. And then once you got into December, January, and you saw him turn that corner and really look like the Cade Cunningham that they expected, the sky's the limit. The guy's just a tremendous player. He's got such a great feel. The improvement of Sadiq Bey, some of the other young guys, Isaiah Stewart always plays hard. The pickup of Marvin Bagley. For year 2 of a rebuild, you're kind of where you want it to be. The question now is for year 3, what are the expectations? And I think that's still to be determined. A week ago, Chris, we're talking like, oh my gosh, the Pistons just moved a bunch of salary. They traded Jeremy Grant. They're going to buy out Kemba Walker. They've got $39 million to spend. Oh, holy hell, they're going to get, DeAndre Ayton. They're going to get Miles Bridges. They're going to go for one of the big marquee free agents. And then free agency starts, and it's Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel from the Knicks. And then last night, Kevin Knox from the Knicks. It's almost like the Detroit Knicks. But it's not, I think, what fans expected a few days ago. Now, when the dust settles, the signings are made, the press conference can be had. Troy will then explain what free agency was. And I think that's what we're kind of in limbo and waiting for him to tell us. I like the direction they're going. I think the draft was great. I don't think free agency has been great. I think the draft, I think Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are going to help right away. And Duren is that athletic, shot blocking, rim protecting guy that they've desperately needed. Too many teams were just able to get to the rim last year. Isaiah Stewart plays so hard, and he's a good rebounder, but he's not a shot blocker. Kelly Olynyk, same thing. Really good big, solid pro, knocks down some shots, but not a rim protector. To get Duren and to do that and be savvy and only give up a future first-round pick for him, I loved that. So still some time to go in free agency, still some guys to take a look at. Obviously, Bagley is back, which is huge. But I think they're on the right path for sure. I like where they're going.
And with Knox, he's a good 3-point shooter, and that's what they needed too off the bench.
For sure. And there's you question the shooting is always going to be questioned, right? Like where's it going to come from? Because if Cade is running the show and driving and kicking, Sadiq Bey's unbelievable 3-point shooter and has just really become a steadying force out on the perimeter. But where's the rest of the 3-point shooting going to come from? Who's going to knock those shots down? Because it is such a 3-point shooting game. And that's still, I think, yet to kind of be determined with this roster. But like I said, I like where they're headed. I think Dwayne Casey is the perfect guy for this. And the East is getting a lot better, Chris. So, sit here and go, though, they have to make the playoffs in year 3. I think getting in that play-in tournament and being 9 or 10, I think is more realistic. There's some teams ahead of them just based off of a head start. Cleveland now has a big 3 of their own that they've developed. Allen, Garland, and drafting of Evan Mobley. Pistons don't have that yet, but they're getting close. So I think if they were in that 9-10 range and in the play-in tournament next year, I think that'd be great.
Okay. Do you think Cade Cunningham should have been Rookie of the Year, or do you agree with Toronto Scotty Barnes getting it? I thought Cade should have gotten it, but
I think Cade, because he got off to a slow start and he was behind the other guys, you could make a case for all 3. I was a big Mobley fan, and I am not a Cleveland Cavaliers fan at all. but I thought Mobley affected winning. When he started playing and right away in October, November for the Cavs, and I flip on League Pass or whatever, you just watch them. They were like winning games, and the Cavs haven't won since LeBron left. They haven't won anytime LeBron's been gone. They haven't won. The three different stanzas of that: the pre-LeBron, the post-LeBron the first time, the post-LeBron the second time. Like no LeBron, no winning. And this guy came in and affected winning. He affected shots. He altered the way teams could get into the lane because he was so long. And I loved watching Mobley, and I went, man, this kid's the rookie of the year. Then you're right. There was a period when you watch Scotty Barnes and go, wow, this guy's dropping 30. And the Raptors are, you look at that Raptor roster, it's not the same roster when they won the championship. You know that team very well, Chris. And it's like, what's he doing so well? He was awesome. And then there was the period of March and April with Cade where you said, if this kid's not rookie of the year, something's wrong, because he was dominating. He was controlling the tempo. He was finding teammates. He was getting to the rim. He was making shots. And the Pistons were on a nice run with him. So I think you could have made a case for all three. Yeah, you could say he should have won it for sure. But I think you could make a case for Mobley too.
That's absolutely true. I was going to say, this leads to my next question. Which player or players did you think developed and played well this season and surprised you on the Pistons, besides obviously Cade Cunningham?
Which other? Well, Saddiq Bey got so much better, and he started really slow because I think he spent the summer. I know I spoke with him on the Pistons pod about it. I said, "Why are you going to Vegas? You're going to Vegas to be on the summer league team, but you were like a starter on the regular team." So, and he said, "Well, one of the things he wanted to work on was just his dribble drive game, getting to the rim." And I think he shot so many threes as a rookie that I think in the summer he was working on other things, which is great. And then as time went on, it kind of seeped into the regular season, and he was missing a lot of shots. He started slow, and you went, "Uh-oh, is this a sort of sophomore slump for Cade?" And or not Cade, for Saddiq. But as the season wore on, I thought he and Cade were just a nice 1-2 punch. And then there were, Saddiq Bey's dropping 40 in games. Like, didn't he have a 50-point game? I mean, crazy. So I think that his defense, his maturity for a kid that's only played 2 years in the league, I loved it. And Marvin Bagley came over from Sacramento. Reputation was not the best. Not a bad guy, but just, what was there a game where they asked him to go back in the game and he refused? What about his dad popping off on Twitter about Marvin's playing time in Sacramento? Would that be a disruption? And all he did was come in and be athletic, lobs and dunks, and loved being a part of the organization. So I thought that was cool to see. And one of the reasons why he just got rewarded yesterday with a reported 3-year, $37 million extension. They need his athleticism and what he brings to the table. So those were two guys that I think going forward are going to be huge. And then there's going to be, there's still going to be questions about other guys like Killian Hayes and others.
I was going to bring that up with you right now.
I don't know yet about Killian. I think he's got potential. He's only 21. The Piston fans on Twitter that get on Killian Hayes all the time, he came into the league at 19 out of France. Like, I know he was a first round pick, but slow down. Like, I think there's still something there. He's only in 2 years and spent a lot of time his rookie year injured. So I think that there's still questions about him, but that's okay. It's not, we're not talking about a kid that has to step in and immediately drop 20 a night. And now that Jaden Ivey's there, I think that'll only help Killian Hayes. You've got some real speed and athleticism now in that backcourt, and a guy that just, plays at such a tenacity every night. I watched a ton of Purdue last year, and he's fun. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table.
Yeah, because I'm looking forward to that. And then getting Jalen Duran with the 13th pick, that was a nice surprise too. I guess he's a center from, I think from Memphis. I know he's 6'11", 250 pounds. And like you said, he's a shot blocker, and that's what they need there too.
They do. And I mean, the thing about Duran is many teams wanted to move up. He was right there around 12 and 13. And from what I was told, a lot of teams were calling the Knicks about it. and even Charlotte trying to move up. And the Pistons got him. And that's just the aggressive nature of Troy Weaver. Obviously, it's kind of a Jeremy Grant for Jalen Duren swap to an extent, because Jeremy was traded away. And I thought Jeremy Grant was terrific here, right? People that blast him, people that were dying for him to be traded, you still have to have some veteran players.
Yes,
you can
absolutely.
play a lot of kids, and he did a great job here. They did a lot of losing in his 2 years here, and his attitude was always good. And now he's kind of going home to Portland, which for him is good. But Duren is a guy, you're right, that kind of changes the complexion of possessions and games with his length and athleticism, and like you said, a rim protector. So I'm excited to see about what he'll do. It's obvious. I think they have a plan for him to play, because Luka Garza, who they developed quite nicely last year at the Motor City Cruise at the G League level, they let walk. He's gone. So, Beef Stew and Olynyk and Duren, I mean, that's kind of your big rotation right now. Marvin Bagley, too, to an extent, because he's a big-ish. But I think they expect Duren to play.
Okay. And I was going to say, if he's half as good as Big Ben Wallace, the Pistons will be set for a long time at center.
Chris, there's only one Ben Wallace, man. That guy, I was around him for a long time. That guy is he was something else. I mean, what a tone he set defensively, and the gong and the fro, and oh my gosh. I mean, yes, you're right. If Duren is half as good, and Pistons will be in good shape. You're right about that.
And that was one of Dumar's better trades, and nobody really even knew much about Wallace when he came over to Detroit back in, I think, 2001, I believe, from Orlando. I think that's where they got him.
Yeah,
so.
The Grant Hill deal, they got pigeonholed. Grant, it was time for Grant to go, and I think the Pistons knew it, and Grant wanted to go to Orlando, and it's like, all right, what are you going to get back? And at first on paper, it's, Chucky Atkins and Ben Wallace, and you're like,
yeah. Oh my God.
That's it.
Yeah.
But obviously Grant had the foot problems, and the Pistons did a great job of scouting and realizing that I don't think they thought Ben Wallace would be a Hall of Famer, but an anchor for the defense. And then he built his body up, and boy, he was unbelievable.
What I like about these guys from watching the media is they generally want to be here. I think Ivy, he was a Pistons fan before, with Larry Brown and the going to work Pistons, and it just seems like all these young kids seem to want to come to Detroit, and they're happy to be there.
That's the thing, Chris, that is very underrated that you're bringing up, and that is you've got to be able to build a culture, and it's true. Free agents, unfortunately, no matter the sport. This is a tough sell here. You look up and if you're being wooed by the Arizona Cardinals in football or the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're going to make some visits, and you go out to Arizona and you're going to play a round of golf, and you're going to sit out on the deck, on the porch, you're going to see the mountains, you're going to be outside. You go to Pittsburgh and you walk in, and it's Super Bowl trophies everywhere. It's Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin and Big Ben. And then you come to Detroit, and it's what? Cold weather and one playoff win since 1957 here for the Lions. For the Pistons, again, your season is going to be taking place where a majority of it is in the freezing cold in Detroit. And I love it here. It's been my home for over 25 years. But, if you get an opportunity to go play for the Lakers and you already live in LA and you're going to be on the beach on your day off, or you're coming, it's a tough sell for all the teams. And so to hear Jaden Ivey, you're right, say, oh my God, at 5 or 6, I wanted Detroit or Indiana. Ivey obviously has Indiana ties and played at Purdue. His dad played at Notre Dame, or his family being from here. His grandfather, Hound Dog Hunter, playing for the Lions. Jalen Duren saying, I spoke with Coach Brown at Memphis. I spoke with Rasheed Wallace. They rave about the organization. It's almost like, wow, isn't that a nice change to hear rookies, free agents, anybody saying great things about us here in Detroit? It's not a free agent destination. It just isn't. A lot of these warm weather teams, And teams with titles and championships, they sometimes get the players before we do here. That's just how it works, unless there's a giant overpay like Javi Baez or something like that.
I was going to say this Pistons organization does have their 3 championships, and they have guys like Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer and Joe Dumars. I don't know how much Dumars is involved, but you got Isaiah Thomas over social media about the Pistons, and they do have a history of success here, and hopefully that's why Casey and Troy Weaver are doing what they're doing with this roster right now. I like the direction of this franchise is going.
I do too, and I think that they were very transparent about the rebuild. Other franchises in this market were not. The baseball team,
oh yeah,
the communication was not great to the fans, I don't think. But the Pistons, when they brought Troy Weaver, said, we're starting over. We're calling it a restore. Troy's going to drive this car. And you're right. People like Isaiah Thomas has always been a Pistons supporter. The Joe Dumars situation, I unfortunately don't know much about. It's sad because Joe D, to me, is a
one of the greatest
top 2 Piston of all time, based on the guy brought a couple of championships as a player and as general manager. And there's a disconnect there, and I wish they would reconnect it one day. I hope so. But the tradition of this organization is awesome. It's great. So now you're right. Getting back to that, you've got your centerpiece in Cade Cunningham. Now it's still about putting some more pieces around them, but they're getting there.
Just like the Red Wings right now, Steve Yzerman, as soon as he came back to Detroit, that was going to help with free agency. He came in and was going to rebuild the team. And I like the direction of the Red Wings too. And I want to see them repair their damaged relationship with Sergei Fedorov, because without Fedorov, they don't win those 3 cups in 97, 98, and 02. And I would like to see him back with the organization. Same with Dumars with the Pistons, because I think of the Pistons, I think of Isaiah and Dumars, and then in the Wings in the 90s, it was Yzerman and obviously Fedorov and Lidstrom too as well. So right now, I'd say the only team I'm kind of leery about in Detroit right now is the Tigers. The Lions, the Red Wings, and the Pistons seem to be on their way up.
No, they do, and you brought up a good point about Sergei. I don't, I know there was some bad blood when he left for Columbus with the past owner, Mike Ilitch, who passed away. So I don't know the ins and outs of that. His number should be retired, I'll tell you that. I don't know how the number 91 is not in the rafters. That is complete Bush League, and needs to be, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But Steve Yzerman, this is a big year for them, Chris. I know they hired their coach last night in Derek Lalonde. I don't know much about him
from Tampa Bay.
Highly respected. And look, if Steve Yzerman is going out and knowing somebody firsthand, and there were a lot of candidates out there, Barry Trotz, Torts, and others that got other jobs. And the fact that Steve waited for the Cup Finals to be done to go get this guy, this is his guy now. This is not inheriting Jeff Blashill. This isn't keeping Jeff Blashill. Everybody loved Jeff Blashill as a person, but anytime I turned on a Red Wing game this past year and they were down 3-0, like in the first minute, they were down 2-0, 3-0 in the first period every game.
A lot of the games.
Embarrassing. This is the Red Wings we're talking about here. So I know they got a lot of young studs coming, but they got to start winning some hockey games here, because this is taking a little bit longer than I thought.
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely. Hey, since it's Canada Day, I had to ask you this question. Thoughts on the Canadians on the Pistons and Kelly Olynyk and Corey Joseph? Are they bringing back Joseph too this year or no?
Well, he picked up his player option, so he's going to be back. I know that's a Dwayne Casey favorite. Corey Joseph brings a veteran presence. Like I said before, and Troy Weaver has said this, you can't just play all kids. You can't. The Lions talked about that last year. Yeah, we're in a rebuild, but we need Michael Brockers on that defense to kind of teach the young guys. We need a Taylor Decker healthy on that offensive line to teach the young guys. You can't just play all young kids. Troy Weaver has said that as well. When Troy had a Wayne Ellington on the team the last couple of years with the Pistons, and some others. Olynyk, like you mentioned, you got to have some veterans, and I think Olynyk hits big shots. He's your stretch five type that does some dirty work on the interior, but also can knock down some deep shots. And Corey Joseph, the same thing. I know that some of the Piston fans on social media get a little bit frustrated with Corey Joseph when he's not making shots, but he's out there because he's a veteran presence and can help Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, and some of the younger players get better. So those guys, to me, both will be back from what I'm seeing. Yes.
Okay. Are you okay for another 5 minutes? A couple more
Yes,
questions?
sir. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I had to mention this nice shirt, Syracuse. You're like my 10th guest I've had on from that school. Obviously,
Who else from Syracuse?
I've had Stu Boyer on from WGR Channel 2 in Buffalo. Ashley Miller from Albany. She I can't remember the station. She's up in Albany. She does work for them in the lacrosse league team, Firewolves. There's a couple other guys. I'm trying to remember who they are. But Syracuse is a popular school definitely for broadcasting and as well.
Yes. No, I mean, I'm a 95 graduate, and there is that Syracuse mafia for sure that it sort of takes over. There's the Syracuse crowd. There's the Northwestern crowd for broadcasting. Fordham in New York with Mike Breen and Ryan Rucco and some of those New York guys all are Fordham people, and Ohio University Bobcats. There's a good contingent of Ohio broadcasters, in Central Michigan too. Dick Enberg and my buddy Adam Jackson, who does the CMU games. My brother, actually, Todd, got me this shirt and a couple of months ago. So it's we need to get the basketball program going, Chris. I'm hoping that this year with 6 new freshmen coming in that we can get back at it here, because it's been some lean years the last few. But the Boeheims, how about this? Buddy and Jimmy Boeheim are both going to be on the Pistons Summer League team next week.
Wow.
So that ought to be interesting. Buddy got a 2-way deal, so he's going to be on the team at some level. Probably start at the G League level, but Luka Garza's gone, but Buddy Boeheim has a 2-way deal, so he's likely going to be on the team.
I had a young girl named Megan Brown on, and she was with Syracuse with Citrus TV, and she's got a bright future too. Like I said, I've had at least 10 people on from Syracuse. One thing I got to ask you about, that dome has been called the Carrier Dome since the '80s. I guess it's going to be weird calling it a different name now.
Yeah, Chris, you're getting me at a bad moment here. I'm gonna start getting emotional.
Okay.
I mean, it's the Carrier Dome. I know it's a new name. I don't even, like, off the top of my head, I don't even know what it's called. They did put a new sponsor on it, but man, it'll just be the Dome now to me. And here's the other thing. For football, for some reason, they call it the Loud House. That never caught on with me either. To me, it's just the Dome. And if this is, I don't know for sure, but if this is Jim Boeheim's last year, there's a chance this year or next year. I got to get back up there one last time for a basketball game. I'm just not sure when yet, but I will be there at least, in the next couple of years, so I don't miss one more game.
It's a really nice area up there, because I've gone up through Syracuse to New York City, and Central New York is just a nice area, and they love their sports. They love their college sports. They love their hockey team, their AAA team, the Syracuse Mets as well. So I'm hoping to get back up there. But hey, when I say Syracuse Orangemen for football, I think of Donovan McNabb, one of the greatest Eagle quarterbacks of all time. Yeah,
it's funny. When I was there, Marvin Graves was the quarterback, and he was amazing. And unfortunately, he didn't make it in the NFL, but obviously Donovan McNabb did. But before there was McNabb, it was Marvin Graves. And McNabb actually wore number 5, which was Marvin's number.
Okay.
But then in between Graves and McNabb were a couple of down years. My senior year, Kevin Mason was our quarterback. But once McNabb got there, you're right. That program really, really went back up. Paul Pasqualoni did a great job. He kind of had 2 successful stints, the Graves era and the McNabb era. And then after that, it was kind of downhill. That's a tough place to recruit for football. It's not, back in the day, it was, oh my gosh, the Dome, it'll rock. now it's difficult for Dino Babers. It's been disappointing, to say the least. But upgrading the dome, fixing the roof, they've made some more upgrades, has been vastly needed. But this is a big year for Babers coming up. They have not had a quarterback in years. They need to fix that position. They've got the running back, but they need the QB this year.
Okay, definitely. And just going to ask you a couple quick questions here. Where else do you see the Pistons improving the roster? And do you see them signing another big name free agent, or somebody that's just kind of some kind of a filler gap for the next year or two? Obviously, I don't think there's any chance of Kevin Durant coming to Detroit. I don't think I want him in Detroit anyways.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Anytime any of these like big names it pops up, and it's like, what can we trade for Durant? Let's just have some fun here. If the Brooklyn Nets, first of all, Durant can ask for a trade. The Nets don't have to grant it. But let's say the Nets go, all right, we have to get out from underneath. I mean, you have to match the money, which is hard to do. And then I'm assuming the Brooklyn Nets, the first person they're going to ask about is Cade Cunningham. And you're not trading Cade Cunningham. So
no.
I don't think that's going to be happening here. As far as free agents for the Pistons, all right, well, you look at it now. They've acquired Alec Burks. They've got Nerlens Noel. I mentioned before, Stewart, Olynyk, Duran, and Noel. I mean, it's a lot of bigs. That's probably another reason why Garza's gone. And then signing Kevin Knox, which is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. They got about and then Bagley coming back for 13 a year. So that's you're at about $9.5 million left to spend. I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of shooter. And somebody, that they're going to, would TJ Warren be a fit? The former Pacer who really hasn't played in 2 years. Dante DiVincenzo, somebody like that. Those are probably a couple of names to watch. I have no inside info to tell you that I know that, but those are a couple of guys that are free agents that have some range and can be shooters to put around Cade. But again, they're down. Like I said, they spent 13 on Bagley. Burks, I think, makes 9. Noel's up there, 7 or 8. Knox is at 3. So you've spent a decent chunk already of what you had. I think they're going to be clearing the books probably for next offseason to make a huge splash. I don't know if Miles Bridges was on their radar, but now that Miles has this major sexual assault case against him from his wife, it's a terrible thing. I don't know if anybody's going to touch him. And the DeAndre Ayton rumors, Chris, were interesting, but he wants max money. And I don't know if the Pistons want to max a guy out at this point. So that leaves, like you said, some of these second and third tier guys. But maybe a Warren or a DiVincenzo is somebody to keep an eye on as we enter day 2 today.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot with this. Can you see this team competing for an in-play playoff position this year? What are your expectations?
That's what I said before. I mean, I think that the East is the best it's been in years. I mean, Boston, Milwaukee. I know Brooklyn's up in the air, but let's say Brooklyn resolves this matter. Even if Durant's gone, but they keep Kyrie, they still have a pretty good young team there around those guys. They brought Claxton back. I really like Day'Ron Sharpe. They brought Patty Mills back. They don't suck by any stretch of the imagination. Chicago is really good. I mentioned Milwaukee. Toronto.
They're always going to be competitive.
They weren't even healthy last year, but Van Fleet and Scotty Barnes and Siakam, that's a pretty good team.
And Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA, in my opinion. I think he doesn't get enough credit.
He does a good job. Chicago's going to be back. I mean, DeRozan was dominant last year. LaVine will re-sign. Cleveland's good. Miami, I mean, the East is back finally. So for the Pistons, you say, these fans that say, well, it's year 3, they have to make the playoffs. Not necessarily. I mean, Detroit's the Tigers are in year 7. The Wings are in year 5. They're not playoff teams.
No.
I think the play-in tournament, you're right, 8, 9, 10, in that vicinity and being in that conversation is probably realistic for this team. Because again, they still are young. They still have young guys. I haven't mentioned that Hamidou Diallo is going to be back. That's another guy to watch, but on a 1-year deal, a sort of a prove-it year for him too. So, that's, I would say, yeah, probably the goal would be to get in that play-in, be around 9 or 10, and see where that and see if you can get in there. That'd be realistic to me. I think the East is very strong. So the timing of this, is a little interesting because the East has gotten better, but the Pistons have gotten better. So let's see what shakes out here.
And what I like about the Pistons too is there seems to be stability. Tom Gores is letting Troy Weaver do his job, and Dwayne Casey's going to be there. There's not like a huge changeover. And to me, having stability in front office and the coaching staff helps in terms of developing young players too.
I agree. And last year they did a kind of a sweep out of the staff on the coaching front. Sean Sweeney left to go to the Mavs, where he's Jason Kidd's lead assistant, and there's some other movement there, but coaching staff now will have a second year under Dwayne, who's obviously been there now a handful of years, like you said. But yeah, you want to keep everything in play, and you're developing some younger players at the G League level. Mentioned before, Saban Lee and some others. I like that. I think that they've done it the right way. But the key is keeping Cade Cunningham healthy, and he has that superstar look to him. And so that's exciting.
It's like Isaiah Thomas did back in 1981. And it took them a while to win, too. When they got Isaiah, they had to get Bill Laimbeer, they had to draft Dumars, and they had to make some roster changes. So it took Jack McCloskey back there maybe 5 years, 6 years to get them into being contenders.
Right. And the problem is now, Chris, it's just, excuse me, it's a different era.
Yes.
It's the Twitter era, social media, and the quick reaction. Kate has a bad game in November, coming back from a foot injury, an ankle injury, and doesn't look right. And it's like, first pick overall, he's a bust. It's like, geez, everybody slow down. We saw how good he was by the end of the season. But because there's that fast food social media environment that we're in, it's so quick to judge everything so quickly. And I get it. It's part of the deal. And these guys are making a lot of money. I mean, some of these free agent contracts you saw, Marvin Bagley had 2 good months with the Pistons, 2. And I'm not knocking the kid, but let's be honest. If you look at his resume in Sacramento, being a top, 5 pick he was out of Duke, he was a bust. He didn't perform. Comes to Detroit with a good attitude, plays well. He just got $13 million a year, Chris. So to the guy that's struggling right now and with inflation and everything going on, to go, wait a minute, he had 2 good months at his job and he's getting $13 million. Who is this kid that the Knicks signed yesterday? Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't know who that is. He got $8 million a year. I've never heard of him, and I follow the league. No. So It's like, so I get why people have these high expectations for everything. But again, like you said, and you brought up a good point, Isaiah had to start with Kent Benson and Kelly Tripucka and guys at the end of their careers.
Adrian Dantley, too.
Right, AD. But AD was on a finals team.
Yeah.
A twirl, Earl Curet and John Long.
Yes.
And then it built up to where they had to figure it out. But it took some time. And I think that to say, Troy Weaver, year 3, they've got to make the playoffs. I don't think that's fair.
That's not realistic.
No, but I think that they're going to get better. But the thing I like about Troy is when he sees that there's something not working, he went out and got Josh Jackson. That was a Troy Weaver pickup. Josh didn't work out. Got rid of him. He went out and traded for a couple other veteran players that, he signed. Who's the big kid from Kentucky? He was the big man. I see his face. Starts with a J. He was one of their bigs that they signed at the beginning. The kid didn't work out, and he got rid of him. Troy says, "Hey, just throwing a few things at the wall, and some of them stick, some of them don't." Now, Jeremy Grant, I think he wanted to kind of move from because he wanted to clear up some cap space, and he wanted to send him to a place, Portland, where he wanted to be. And he'll be great up there with Dame and Simons and that group. But at least he admits mistakes and is trying a lot of different things to see what will work, what to put in the stew. And
unlike the other GM in Detroit, we won't mention names, but we already brought him up earlier. He won't admit to mistakes or fix mistakes.
I don't get it. I just don't understand. I mean, baseball is different than basketball. I get it.
Yeah.
And you draft Torkelson and Green and Mize. It's going to take some time, but when you're openly saying the rebuild is over, and you bring in some free agents that don't fit, this Eduardo Rodriguez situation, I don't know what's going on. Not even with the team. You gave him 5 years. That just saddles you for years to come. And to get out of the gate like they have the last couple of years, it's bad. It's bad.
And I was going to say, just to end up with the Pistons, Tom Gore seems to be letting guys now run the team. Like, he's still involved, but it seems like he's letting Troy Weaver and Casey do what they need to do with the roster, like the flexibility, what they need to do.
Yeah, I don't think Tom's ever been a meddlesome owner that steps in and is sitting there in the war room. I mean, he lives in California. When he's here, he's very supportive. Yeah, I mean, to me right now, you're right. The regime before that, in between Stan Van Gundy and Troy, when it was Ed Stefanski and Arn Tellem and stuff, you're right. I think Ed was a sort of a placeholder, and Ed's a good man and knows basketball. But you're right. Troy is kind of the guy driving the bus here, and it's the same guy that was a part of front offices that drafted James Harden and Durant and Westbrook and players like that. So it's Jahlil Okafor, by the way, is the player I was thinking of before, the big man. But yeah, no, I think Troy's the guy to do this. I'm excited to see where this is headed.
Okay. And this leads to my last question I wanted to ask you. I had to. What were your thoughts on the first year of G League basketball in Detroit? I believe they played their games at Wayne State with the Motor City Cruise. Yep. And who are some players to keep an eye on for the future for the Pistons that might do well with the Pistons in the future?
It's interesting. I called about 20 of the games last year on the G League website, the Cruises Facebook page, and the prep with Chad Bush, and we had a blast. I really enjoyed it. And you got to see some guys certainly develop on that G League team. Derek Walton, Saban Lee, Luka Garza, who's not with the team anymore, Cassius Stanley. Some of these guys, and I know Cassius has been in the NBA with the Pacers and played some with the Pistons, but it was cool to watch because with COVID last year and players having to miss games. If there was a COVID outbreak with the Pistons and 6 players had to go quarantine, the Pistons were able to pluck these guys up from the G League, whether it was Check Diallo, Walton, Stanley, Lee, Garza, and they didn't miss a beat. I mean, they played really hard and they played well. And the G League team made the playoffs. Their coach, DJ Baker, who was on Dwayne Casey's staff with the Pistons, did a fantastic job. And it was exactly what you wanted it to be. Now, will Jalen Duren start the year with the G League team? I don't know. It's a good question. But to get some reps and to get some minutes and play, instead of sitting on the bench behind Stewart, Olenek, and Noel, may be an option for him. Buddy Boeheim, I just mentioned. There's a dead-eye 6'7" shooter who led Syracuse in scoring over the last few years that's on a 2-way deal. He's going to get an extra opportunity. Braxton Key is another name to watch that may start with the G League team but get called up. So there's options there. It's they did it right. Rob Murphy, DJ, they did a great job of balancing it, and it was right down the street, literally 5 minutes from the arena, from Little Caesars Arena, 7 minutes from the practice facility, and I got to play their games at Wayne State, and it worked out well.
Is Rob Murphy now with the Pistons, or is he still with the Cruise? Are you
Both.
doing
Both.
both?
He does
Okay.
both. So he's an assistant GM of the Pistons, and he's the general manager of the Crews. So he's able to do that's a kind of a dual role for him. So they won't have the Crews roster figured out until after summer league, probably right at the end of training camp for the Pistons. They'll determine, all right, what guys are we going to keep? Will we bring a guy like Derek Walton back, who I think would want to come back? But right now, that's still up in the air.
Okay. And how impressive is that new Pistons practice facility downtown Detroit?
It's nice. You know, I love the location right there at Midtown, right by Wayne State. And again, it houses both teams. So, you know, players can practice with both the Pistons and the Crews if they're kind of going back and forth with those teams. And it's beautiful. They did a great job of it. Everybody's now kind of moved in down there. The Plum Market is right there. They did a good job of it. They're fully moved now in the city. And it's not, you know, for a couple of years, they had the organization still running out of the Palace, playing games at LCA. And it was just a pain for a lot of the employees to have to be spending your days in Auburn Hills and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon having to zoom down for a home game. Now everything is based right there, and they did a good job of it.
It's still a shame they had to tear down the Palace because I thought it was still a really good arena, but obviously they didn't. I guess they didn't want to have competition with Little Caesars Arena. I guess that's one of the reasons too.
I really think Tom Gores wanted the team in the city. I think he wanted the Detroit Pistons to be in the city, and I get it. I miss the Palace. I worked at the Palace for 12 years, pre and post game for the team on the radio, and that place brings up so many great memories. I still got some of the bricks from the Palace before it was a few days before it was demolished. I was able to go in there and not go in, but I was in the vicinity and grab a couple of bricks, and I got them in my basement. And
cool.
That place meant a lot to me. Like I said, I grew up in Cleveland, man. I moved here when I was 22, 23, excuse me. And Palace was my place, man. I loved it.
And you know what? Eventually, if the Pistons when they start winning, Little Caesars Arena will start having that feel too, like the Palace.
Oh yeah. No, it's getting there. It is. I know it's a hockey arena. It's the Wings' home. I know the Pistons are kind of they're lessees, they're leasers, whatever the word is. It's a little weird, but no, the organization does a good job with it. They do the best they can, and with Cade now, they had some really good crowds toward the end of the year. They played some good games there, and to then be able to go into the city, go downtown, go to your favorite place afterwards or before a game, there's something to that I get that the Palace didn't have.
I was going to say, and you know what? The game of basketball has actually changed my life because I was volunteering with a local team here in Guelph, and it led me to camera work, and then it led me to Rogers TV as a camera operator, and then it led to my podcast. So the game of basketball has actually changed what I want to do career-wise as well. And one league I have been following, and I don't know if you do, called the TBL, the Basketball League. It's kind of a developmental league below the G League, and I've gotten to know some of the guys from the Albany Platoons, the Toledo Glass City, and it's really great basketball. And I'm hoping some of those guys in that league get an opportunity next year to move up to the G League.
No, that'd be great. Is there a team in Flint as well?
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
and then Freddie Zamaya, the head coach of the Glass City, is going to come on my podcast Sunday. He's a really good guy, bright basketball mind, and I hope he gets an opportunity to move to the G League or whatever. But I've been watching it, and I'm also involved with the National Basketball League of Canada, which is a pro basketball league here as well. And the game of basketball has actually changed my life with all my podcasting and everything. And I love watching these other leagues and watching these young players develop.
No, it's fun. And the thing about the G League and the Crews games at Wayne State, beautiful new building, holds a couple thousand. It was just fun and good environment. Tickets were obviously less than if you wanted to spend NBA prices. And it was good basketball. And you saw guys that, Kenneth Fareed, who played for the Nuggets, who was an all-star. There were some veteran players. The G League Ignite team came in to play the Crews. And, 4 or 5 guys from the Ignite team, including Dyson Daniels, were drafted in the first round. So it was fun. It was a good time this year, and I hope more people come to games next year down at Wayne State because it was a good product.
You know what, Matt? You can count me in. I think in the fall, I'd like to come down and see a Cruise game and then see a Pistons game at Little Caesars. I haven't been to a Pistons home game since 2008 at the Palace, so it's been long overdue for me to come down to Detroit to see the Pistons in Cruise.
You will be my guest, Chris, at a Cruise game. You do not go any. You call me. You got my number. You call me when you want to come down, and we'll have you for sure.
Because I'd love to write a story and a blog about it, and maybe even do an interview or two with yourself, live interview with one of the players and stuff. Because I really love watching these developmental leagues, and I really appreciate it, Matt. And then, like I said, I have cousins in Taylor, Michigan, and they're the reasons why I became a Red Wing, Tiger, and Pistons fan. Never been a Lions fan, by the way.
I know. But your Eagles. Here we go. Week 1, Chris.
September 11th.
Last year, you and I talked, and you said the Eagles aren't going to lose to the Lions. You were right. I didn't think it would be 48-6.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. But week 1, the rematch would be very interesting. I still don't love the matchup for the Lions. I still think Philly's going to win that game, but Lions are going to be better. But Philly, for some odd reason, man, they just ran all over Detroit that day. But hopefully a different result for Lions fans. I know for you, that was one of your favorite games of the year this past year.
But I was going to say, as for the Eagles, I think they'll go as far as Jalen Hurts develops, because this is his 3rd year as a quarterback, 2nd year as a starter, and they did get an A.J. Brown along with Devontae Smith. So
what a pickup that was, huh?
Yes, I think, and the Eagles have added to their defense, so I think they'll go as far as Hurts develops. And I'm being optimistic. I think the Eagles can win 10 or 11 games this year, and I think they can win the NFC East. I think Dallas has gotten weaker, but we'll see what happens.
All right, brother. Well, I'm rooting for you, and I did like their offseason. I'm with you on that. So we'll see what that's a weak division. They can definitely win it.
Absolutely, Matt. I'm going to let you go, but I was going to say I'll definitely get in touch with you about the cruise, and
right.
I look forward to it. And Matt, again, thanks for coming on season 4, episode 3 of Live with CDP podcast, my 168th show today.
All right, Chris. Anytime. Great to see you.
Thanks, Matt. Have a happy 4th of July on Monday, too. Enjoy your holiday.
You too, buddy. You too.
Thanks, Matt.
See ya.
See ya. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast with Matt Dery. And like I said, guys, I hope to have Matt back on again in the future. Just to let you know, Matt is also with what is he? He's also with he's a marketing recruiting business coordinator at Financial Architects Incorporated, and he's also the host of Locked on Lions podcast, and he's also the host of the Pistons podcast, and he's also does a podcast, Dery Bros Guardians Cast, and he's on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, and he also does some work for the G League's Motor City Cruise, doing some play-by-play and color analyst for the Motor City Cruise as well. So, and like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today, talking some Detroit Pistons basketball and stuff like that. So again, thanks to Matt Dery for coming on. He's a longtime radio personality in Detroit. He's also from Syracuse University, another guest from Syracuse. And I had John Murphy on from the Bills a year ago, and he's from Syracuse as well. So Syracuse is a well-known school for this broadcasting program, not to mention their basketball program and their football program. And one of the greatest Eagle players of all time, Donovan McNabb, played for the Syracuse Orangemen as well. You guys can also follow Matt on Twitter at Dery Speaks. That's at Dery Speaks. You can follow him on Twitter. He's on there actively. And he's also with Financial Architects as well as a marketing recruiting business coordinator as well. And you can also listen to him on 92.3 The Fan. Just go to odyssey.com/92.3 The Fan, which is in Cleveland. He's on there part-time as well. And also, guys, you can check out the Pistons website on nba.com/Pistons. I'm very optimistic about the Pistons this year. I'm not going to make a prediction yet on wins or whatever, but I think they should be a very competitive, very talented team and should be in the in-play tournament, hopefully next year, depending on injuries. Guys, just to let you know, my next Live with CDP podcast originally was scheduled for today at 1, but it has been moved to Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock, Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock. My guest will still be Freddie Zamaya, the head coach of the Toledo Glass City of the Basketball League. So, yeah, unfortunately, something came up with Freddie today. You couldn't come on at 1 o'clock on Friday. So it looks like Freddie will be on Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock, and we're going to talk Glass City, and we're going to talk about his coaching career and also the TBL finals between the Shreveport Mavericks and the Albany Platoons, which starts Saturday night, 8 o'clock in Shreveport. Best of 3 series. Albany will have game 2 in Albany at home, and if there's a third game needed, it'll be in Albany as well. And also, guys, just to let you know, I get some other news here, guys. CFL tonight, Canada Day, Edmonton at Hamilton at 7:30 kickoff from Tim Hortons Field in TSN. On TSN, the Tiger Cats are off to an 0-3 start, but I'm predicting the Tiger Cats will get their first win tonight. I think they'll beat the Edmonton Elks. Not the Eskimos, the Edmonton Elks, 24-17. So Hamilton gets their first win tonight, 24-17. And I want to say congratulations to the St. John's Sea Dogs for winning their second ever Memorial Cup championship on Wednesday, June 29th, defeating the Hamilton Bulldogs 6-3. So congratulations to the Sea Dogs on their second Memorial Cup. And congratulations to the Hamilton Bulldogs. Even though they didn't win the Memorial Cup, they got to the final game and they were the OHL champions. The Hamilton Bulldogs, the last 4 years, have won 2 OHL championships and made 2 Memorial Cup appearances. And for the first time ever, they got to the final game. Great job by Jay McKee and their general manager, Steve Stales. The Bulldogs organization is tremendous season. And to win an OHL championship is hard enough, winning it 4 rounds. And then the Memorial Cup tournament is only a 1-week tournament. And it's hard to win too. But congratulations to the Hamilton Bulldogs on a tremendous season. Same with the Sea Dogs. And looking forward to the OHL returning at the end of August, beginning of September for training camp as well. And also, guys, the Detroit Red Wings yesterday hired their 28th head coach franchise history by hiring Derek Lalonde, an assistant coach from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He'll take over from Jeff Blashill. Lalonde also coached one of Detroit's minor league teams in, I believe, 14-15 with the Toledo the team in Toledo, I believe. But Derek Lalonde, Steve Yzerman knows him well from Tampa Bay, so he'll be taking over the Red Wings, and I'm expecting the Red Wings to even be more competitive this year. So right now, I think the Red Wings, the Pistons, and even the Lions are on the way up. The Tigers right now, as me and Matt Dery talked about, are kind of a bit of a mess right now. So, but I'm looking forward to this. I think Derek Lalonde is good at working with younger players, and the Red Wings still have a young team. And Steve Yzerman, I believe in what he's doing, and it's going to take a little more time yet. But I think the Red Wings could be on the grasp of a playoff spot next year. So we'll see. It's going to depend on a little luck and health as well. And that's pretty well it, guys. Let's see. I'm just going to wrap up on my podcast like I do with every show. And give me 1 second, guys. Live with CDP podcast. The audio version is downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn. And I have 15 countries that listen to my podcast on audio. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody watching this live on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'm up to 113 subscribers now. And also thank you to everyone watching this on Facebook Live this morning and on Twitter at Chris D. Pame. If you wish to follow me there at Chris D. Pame, I do post and do a lot of tweeting as well. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Canada Day, July 1st here in Canada. And I want to wish all my American family and friends happy 4th of July Independence Day on Monday in the United States as well. So Canada Day is today, and Independence Day, 4th of July, is Monday in the States as well. And also, guys, just to let you know, one thing, StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP podcast. As much as I like Zoom, StreamYard's way to go. And also, guys, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. I post a lot of video content there as well. And before we go, I'm just going to let you guys also know I'm going to be working on a new blog soon. WordPress.com/home/live with CDP podcast.wordpress.com. I just did a couple of blogs and digital stories of the Buffalo Bisons last week, and I'll be doing another blog in the next few days as well. So hope you guys can check out my website and my blogging on wordpress.com/home/live with CDP.wordpress.com. And that's pretty well it, guys. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to my next podcast show on this Sunday, July 3rd, with Freddie Zamaya. So hopefully, like I said, everybody can tune in. So yeah, season 4, episode 4, this Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock with Freddie Zamaya. Again, this will be a second time on my podcast, head coach of the Toledo Glass City of the Basketball League. And we're going to just talk about the Glass City's first year in the TBL, their playoff run, which came to an end to the Kokomo Bobcats, and just preview, break down the final between the Shreveport Mavericks and the Albany Platoons. Steve Tucker for the Mavericks is their head coach, and Will Brown, who's the TBL Coach of the Year, is behind the bench for the Platoons. All those games will be on the TBL TV. So if you want to watch them on online, you can do it online. If you want to pay a few dollars, it's really good basketball, the Basketball League, and I'm so happy they signed a 10-year contract with the NBL of Canada, a 10-year arrangement with the NBL of Canada to continue their arrangement in the future, playing regular season games against the National Basketball League of Canada, and also having a NA Cup, a North American Cup, where the winner of the TBL takes on the winner of the NBL championship. So great job by Audley Stevenson, the commissioner of the NBL of Canada as well. And before we go, guys, just to let you know, one of my favorite places in Guelph, Are You Serious Tap and Grill on 130 Silver Creek Parkway, North in Guelph, 519-766-0230. And they are the official pub of Bill's Mafia in Guelph. They have good beer selection, and they have really good wings and antiheatals. So I might be going there later today to have a cold beer and some antiheatals, and maybe watch some of the Tiger Cats Edmonton Oaks game tonight at 7:30 as well. That's about it, guys. I want to say again to my guests this week, Shauna Brown and Matt Dery, for coming on. Really appreciated talking to Shauna last night about her latest single and her music career. And again, Matt Dery, longtime radio personality in Detroit and involved with the Pistons. Please check out the Pistons Pod. If you just Google Pistons Pod, Matt does a lot of podcasting for the Pistons, and also you can check him out on the Locked on Lions podcast. So if you happen to be a Detroit Lions fan, check out his podcast, Locked on Lions. Matt is one of the best in the business, and he's also from Syracuse University. So shout out to Ashley Miller, and also Megan Brown and Stu Boyer, all from Syracuse University as well. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to call this a podcast. But again, thanks to Matt Dery for coming on. And I will be downloading this podcast to audio form in the next few minutes. So I hope everybody has a great long weekend. Happy Canada Day. Happy Independence Day, July 4th. And we'll see you guys on Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock with Freddie Zamaya from the Toledo Glass City, and for season 4, episode 4. So, all right, guys, have a great day. Happy Canada Day. And we'll see you guys Sunday at 1 o'clock for another edition of Live with CDP podcast. Oh, guys, before we go, I'm just going to play this video clip. Before we go, I might have jumped a little soon, but we're just going to play this little video clip of Jalen Rose welcoming Jaden Ivey selection to the Pistons 2022 draft. It's a 3-minute clip, and then we're going to call it a show.
Emotional process for you. You've had a few minutes to process this, going from Notre Dame, Midwest to Detroit. What's that like?
It's amazing. I'm so happy to be a Piston. I'm so happy. My grandfather actually played for the Detroit Lions. I had family ties in Detroit. My dad was from Detroit. Grandma still currently lives in Detroit. So, I'm just looking forward to this opportunity.
I don't have any question here. I want to say this because I'm going to pass it to my man, Jalen Rose. Once again,
Jalen Rose has beaten me at basketball. He got the player that I wanted for the Knicks. All right, I knew I had no chance, but I was praying that the New York Knicks would be up just to get you.
Oh, I see you praying with Spike Lee. I see.
That's exactly what I was wishing for.
Why
and
are you
damn it, it didn't happen.
Why are you
Go ahead.
surprised that Jalen's beating you at basketball?
No, I'm just saying, I know that. I mean, I could pray. Damn it. Go ahead, man.
Welcome to Detroit as a Piston. Like, you're such a welcome addition off the floor as well. Just watching you progress in the Big Ten and your maturity. How from season to season you improved your points, your rebounds, assists, your field goal percentage, and your three-point percentage. The sky's the limit for your potential. We ride or die for our team. And if grandma live in the city, I just want to get invited for a home cooking. That's it.
Hey, she can cook now.
That's it.
Right.
Done and done. But in all seriousness, we're going to welcome you with open arms. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
And Jaden, I mean, we've talked about it. Your mom being the head coach of Notre Dame women's basketball, whole generation of women supers rooting for you, happy for you. I love the tears. It's not weak, it's work. What did your mom tell you right after you got drafted?
She was so proud of me. I was there when she took the head coaching job at Notre Dame, and now she's here, watching me get drafted on the biggest night. So it's just special.
The idea of joining Cade Cunningham in that backcourt, what's your first thought?
Different, special. To play with a guy like Cade, he wants to win, and they got good pieces, and I think we can compete.
That's the question mark I had, because I know what Cade Cunningham brings to the table. I have no doubt what you bring to the table. I'm thinking, if I'm beyond this, I'm thinking D-Wade. I'm thinking that kind of stuff. I mean, when you look at your game and what you're going to bring to the next level, particularly to play with Cade, how do you see yourself fitting in that regard?
Yeah, I think I can play on the ball or off the ball, whatever the coaches need me to do. I played off the ball, somewhat at Purdue, so I'm kind of familiar with that. So whatever the coaches need me to do, I'm gonna do.
And also, Sadiq Bey had a 50-point game this year. I love the addition of Marvin Bagley on the interior to go with you, to go with K. Like, the sky's the limit for this team. But I want to ask you, what do you feel like is something you want to bring to the table from day one?
That defensive presence. I think that's the biggest thing. Bringing that defensive energy, to Detroit, and we got to get Detroit back to winning again. So that's the biggest thing.
What's the best thing you've learned from your experience at Purdue?
Just to be an energetic guy. I think that I can bring that to the Pistons. And that's what I'm going to do. Just be an energetic guy and give my all every day.
We all know here, Detroit's a phenomenal basketball town. And the Pistons are beyond excited. And congratulations to you.
What up, though? We're going to get him some Buffaloes, and we out.
Can I get an invite to you?
Look,
Sure.
I'm happy for you. But I wanted you with the Knicks.
Anyways, guys, that clip was courtesy of the NBA on ESPN, and I'm looking forward to seeing the additions of Jaden Ivory, the 5th overall pick from Purdue, and Jalen Duran, the 13th pick, a center from the Memphis Tigers, 6'11", 250-pound shot blocking center. So I'm really optimistic about the Pistons in 22-23. Again, I want to say thanks to Matt Dery for coming on. And guys, give me a couple minutes, and I will download this podcast to my audio platforms like Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor FM as well. So I'm going to wrap up my podcast. But again, thanks to Matt Dery for coming on and talking some Detroit Pistons and some sports with us. And we'll see you guys Sunday, July 3rd at 1 o'clock with Freddie Zamaya from the Toledo Glass City. Go Pistons. By the way, happy Canada Day and happy 4th of July, Independence Day in the States. We'll see you guys Sunday at 1 o'clock for another edition of Live with CDP podcast.